Hello, I'm Roger Fillio and I am running for town council. I have lived in Londonderry for 40 years and watched it grow slowly, very slowly at first, but it's gathering speed all the time till we get to where we are now. And one of the things I've noticed in talking to various people throughout the years is that it's the management of the town growth that is the most important on most people's minds. And how we manage that growth is very important. I plan and I will be instrumental in the management of the growth. But how and why do we manage growth? By promoting and prioritizing the wants and needs of the citizens here. We all came essentially for the aesthetics of the small town life. Londonderry's situated where it is. It's very easy to get to the playgrounds of the north, to the shores on the east, west to Nashua and Keene, and into Boston in about an hour and a half. So it's centrally located to be a bedroom community. We did not have a lot of businesses and industry here, but we started to develop that on the northern side. We develop businesses and business areas to help keep the tax rate for those of us who live here down. Big business is our partner, not necessarily our enemy. Therefore, we have to be careful who we allow to go in and how they get there. But make no mistake about it, there are laws from the state and the federal government that dictate how we can control that. There are so many that are very difficult to comply with. I serve on the Conservation Commission. Every building permit of any stature comes before us. And there is a multitude of discussions on how that building fits into our growth scheme, how it fits into keeping our air and water clean, how it fits into the scheme of traffic. And believe me, it's very, very difficult to get all of these things working and try to keep prices down. That's what the builders tell us. But the fact is, we need to continue doing all of that. The other fact is we are regulated again by some of the rules that say we have to have workforce housing, housing for elderly. As a matter of fact, elderly housing, we just looked at a new project where they're dealing with condominium-style single-family homes rather than just building single-family homes. And the reason they're going in that direction is because under the condominiums concept, there's no 1 acre, 1 house. Because the house itself is owned by a single entity. The property around the house, let me clarify that, is owned by one entity, and it fits the pattern of the laws of condominium associations. So therefore, where do we have to be careful and how do we stop that growth in directions that we do not want it to go? I do not think we should try to stop everything. Many years ago, we had a person who wrote a warrant article and got it passed that prevented anybody from building a new house, so he thought. But it turned out that he prevented people from even repairing their house after a fire. You have to be careful how you write these things, and they have to pass the scrutiny of both state and federal law. And it's getting more and more difficult to do that. But you have to continue to work in that direction. There are other things that are almost, or maybe even more important than just stabilizing and managing growth. Part of that is When I first came here, we had plenty of places for my children to go. We had a roller skating rink, a bowling alley. There was a lot of areas around that were underutilized, and they were able to work and play all their games and everything. That's not the case today. We have more than tripled the number of people in this town than there was when I arrived. And these areas are getting few and far between. And our roads are pretty much rural roads. They don't have a path or a sidewalk for people to walk on. So it's getting more difficult. I advocate that with the conservation properties that we own, namely the Musquash and several others, that we put in some parking lots, making it more accessible to children. I also am an advocate for small businesses. Small businesses are the root of all our entry-level jobs. They teach people, and young people especially, that they have to show up for work if they want to collect a paycheck. They teach them the regulations of working for someone else. So I am an advocate of small businesses, small convenience stores, small shops. Wherever that can be, I'm looking forward to putting them in. One of the areas when we talk about our priorities, and what we want and what we need is sometimes I have a discussion with people and they don't see my point. One of the things, for example, and again, this is not part of what I'm running on, but it is part of a lot of discussion, is we have had an auditorium proposed for the high school. And of course, everybody sees that as a win-win situation. But it's a pretty expensive situation. I would love to see Londonderry Community College started. And I certainly would agree that in my way of thinking, a small community college that we could start here. We have the people from the high school who are accredited to work as a community college, teachers and instructors. So that would be a good benefit to the town, and it would be what I call a benefit for everybody, to be able to keep your children here for a couple of years while they learn a little extra. And second of all, right now, New Hampshire is desperate for technical people in the trades. The jobs today in the technical aspect are not what they were when I entered. I was a machine operator and a machinist in a small business. We walked in the morning and turned on the machines, and a fine mist of cutting oil started to permeate the air. Today, it isn't anything like that. You don't have to make mathematical changes in your brain or anything. It's all done on computer. You get a computer printout to the list of what you're going to do. You set up. Yes, you do have to set up the pieces and change stock occasionally, but it's all in an enclosed environment. They don't even use cutting oil like I am familiar with. They use a water-based oil so that it's not as detrimental to your health. So I see no reason why we can't have a school that is technically oriented and a community college situation where we can teach people how to operate in the trades. As much as I knew about the technical aspects when I was in, I could never catch up and work in that kind of trade again. It is all computer driven. There's very little lifting. It's just amazing. And it pays $25 to $35 an hour. So when I talk about attracting businesses, especially to our industrial areas up there, that's what I'm looking to see. And I'm also looking to see a school to provide people an opportunity to work in a trade and go as far as they can go. Not everybody's cut out to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. Some people just, like me, I would never be a doctor or an accountant. Certainly I spent 4 years in law and then another 4 years in law enforcement. But I never really felt the interest of becoming a lawyer. But having said that, I don't know how many things I can touch on that'll give you an idea of how I think, except those that I've just talked about. Growth and making sure we have an area for the youth of this town to stay within its borders and not want to go elsewhere, to keep them busy and give them a good education and a place to work. That's what I'm looking to do, and that's why I want to get on the council. Now, having said everything I've said before, you can't expect to have one person, or even the 5 total members, change the town dramatically. We can only guide it in the path that it's pushed into. And yes, we can stop some things, and yes, we can split town areas up, but eventually we're going to have to improve the roads to handle the traffic. We didn't even have a street light. I used Pillsbury Road in Mammoth. We didn't have a street light when I came here because there was no need. Now, Mammoth Road is swamped. Granted, it's only a couple hours a day when it's really busy, but it is busy. High Range Road is busier than ever. We're a big town, and it's going to cost a lot of money to make it the town we want it to be, where we don't have a lot of traffic congestion. The only way to reduce traffic congestion is not necessarily by slowing it down. I think that really adds to it, but making the roads we have a little safer to handle a little more traffic. Those are my views, and I think they would do a lot of good for the town. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions. I'm on the web, Roger Fillio at myfairpoint.net. If you want to send me an email and ask me questions, I'll be happy to answer it. My phone number is 603-434-1694. I've had that same number for 40 years, and I don't plan on changing it. So thank you for taking the time to watch my presentation.